Hey music lovers, welcome to the channel and thank you for checking out this video. In this one, I'm going to give you my review of a concert that I saw recently, the Winery Dogs. Yeah, they're on a 1-month tour of the US, May only. They haven't toured in about 2.5 years, so it was great to see them. This was my second time seeing them. I'm going to get into a little bit of the backstory on these guys, who's in the band, what did they play, how was the show. It's all going to be in this video, so stay tuned. The Winery Dogs, yeah, they are probably my favorite new band that has come out. When I say new, I don't mean like brand new. They've been around since 2012, so I'd say over the past 10 or so years. I love their debut album, one of my favorite albums of all time. And this band initially started out with Mike Portnoy and Billy Sheehan wanting to do something. Mike Portnoy is most known for being the drummer in Dream Theater during their heyday. And he left that band, wanted to do some other things, and boy, has he done that. He is in probably no less than 6 bands currently, which I think is one of the problems with the Winery Dogs, and that is that Mike Portnoy is in too many bands, that he can't devote a lot of time to any one of them, and so that's why we get these big breaks with the Winery Dogs. But you know, Mike's got to do what he's got to do. He's got to fulfill these needs inside of him. Each band is like a different outlet. You know, like Transatlantic is a prog rock band. The Sons of Apollo is prog rock, but it's prog metal. He's also in this band called Flying Colors and the Neil Morse band. And of course, the Winery Dogs, like I said, is really more his classic rock outlet. Now, Billy Sheehan is best known for his work in a band called Mr. Big. And Mr. Big is best known for their single To Be With You. That was their #1 hit from the 80s, from the late 80s. And it was a ballad, which is not something that Mr. Big probably wanted to be known for. I mean, I'm sure they're grateful for the hit, but kind of like with the band Extreme. You know, they're hard rock bands. And they had a ballad, and it became a huge hit, and they have to play it at every show, and people think that they're kind of a soft rock band, but they're really not. Billy Sheehan's a monster bass player, and I'll get to his bass playing in just a little bit. Sheehan often works with Portnoy. They often join or form bands with each other. They're currently in Sons of Apollo. But they wanted to form a trio. And so they were going to hook up with John Sykes, who used to be in Whitesnake, but that fell apart. John Sykes is one of these guys that, I mean, he's such a talent, great singer, great songwriter, but he takes forever to do things. That's the problem with John Sykes. As a matter of fact, he still hasn't put anything out since Winery Dogs. I don't think he has anyway. He's been talking about working on stuff. I think Portnoy just kind of got fed up with waiting around for him. I mean, definitely you can see Portnoy is in like 6 fucking bands, and John Sykes hasn't even been able to squeeze out 1 album in all this time. They definitely have 2 different work ethics. John Sykes is supposedly dropping his next solo album out this summer and going on tour. Now, we'll see if that happens, but that is the word. Everything looks like it's a go, but I'll believe it when I see it. He has been leaking some songs over the past few years here and there, but we'll see if Sykes actually delivers. So then after things kind of fell apart with John Sykes, in came Richie Kotzen. Now, Eddie Trunk, who is a DJ out of New York, he knows all these guys. He recommended to Mike Portnoy, why don't you talk to Richie Kotzen? Richie Kotzen hooked up with the band, and the rest is history. They found their guy. Richie Kotzen, who is he? He used to be in Poison. Remember that? There was a period where he was in Poison. C.C. DeVille left, and they picked up Richie Kotzen. At that point, Richie Kotzen had done some solo stuff. He had some solo albums. Richie has been making solo albums for the longest time, for the past 20 plus years. But he joins Poison during a point where CeCe leaves. And so they put out this album in '93 called Native Tongue, which you may have heard. And that's Richie. Richie came in. They gave him full creative reign. That album is pretty much a Richie Kotzen solo album, with the exception of Bret Michaels working with him on the lyrics. And of course, Bret Michaels singing. But for the most part, it's a Richie Kotzen album, and it's a very solid album. It's actually a very good Poison album, Native Tongue. It's not like the others that have all these poppy hits that got them to where they are, but it definitely wasn't an album to be ashamed of. So, you know, things went south with Poison for a couple of reasons. First of all, Richie, you know, he's used to being a solo artist, doing everything on his own, playing all of his own songs. When he goes out on tour with Poison, even though he had put his heart and soul into this album, they only played a couple of songs off of it, and the rest were, of course, the hits that they had with CeCe, and a lot of those songs Richie just didn't connect with. He didn't see it as a long-term kind of a deal. And but the biggest thing was probably the fact that Richie had an affair with Ricky Rocket's girlfriend at that time. Ricky Rocket is the drummer in Poison. And so once he found out, once that came out, then Richie got the boot from Poison. However, it wasn't all in vain. Richie wound up marrying her, actually, and they had a kid. Now, he's not with her now, but it wasn't all for nothing. And from what I understand, Richie has, you know, talked to the rest of the guys in Poison over the years, and everything is good. There's no hard feelings or anything. But so he winds up joining the Winery Dogs. So now we got Portnoy, Sheehan, and we got Richie Kotzen. And they, in the summer of 2013, put out their first album, their debut album, self-titled album. And it's just amazing. It's a mixture of, you know, Led Zeppelin and Cream and Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. You can hear it all in there. Great melodies, great harmonies, guitar solos, everything that kind of harkens back to the 70s. Every track is great. So the Winery Dogs released their second album, Hot Streak, in October 2015, and it's a great album. It's not as great as the first album. The first album just has this magic about it. I always thought it would have been tough to follow up with something that's equal. Hot Streak has got its moments. It's got a lot of good stuff on it, and it's actually an album that's growing on me still. I hadn't listened to it in quite a while, and I listened to it recently when I knew I was going to go see them. And I have to say that some of the songs have really grown on me since I put them away a number of years back. So it's always great when an album gets better with age instead of, you know, feeling like it's getting dated, you know. So now the last time I saw the Winery Dogs live was actually the first time I ever saw them live, and that was in support of their second album when they hit Nashville at the Wild Horse Saloon back in 2015, and it was an awesome show, amazing show. So when I heard that they were carving out the month of May this year to do some more shows, I had to go check it out. And like I said, I wish the Winery Dogs had more time to do more shows. Richie Kotzen, during the concert, even made mention that 3 years has been too long and that it won't be that long before we see them again. And I hope that is the case. So let's get into the set list. All right, so I noticed that the Winery Dogs, when they kicked off their tour, they were using two different set lists, which basically boiled down to two songs that were being swapped in and out night after night. This only lasted for a couple of shows before they settled into one set list that they've been doing every night, and that's the one that I saw. And they kick off the show with a song called Elevate, which is the first song from the first album. It's an awesome tune. I definitely recommend you checking out. As a matter of fact, I've got music videos and songs and all this stuff in a companion playlist that I will throw up here. So be sure to click on that after this video, and I'll have all the songs that were played in this show, plus some bonus stuff for you. They follow it up with Captain Love, great song there. That it kind of reminds of Whitesnake. It kind of has that kind of a feel to it. After that, they pull into Hot Streak, which is off the second album. And this is a song where they can shine and they can jam, and that's what they did. These guys came to play, and it was great just watching them kind of play off each other and do their thing. They jammed on Hot Streak, and then they went into Time Machine, and Time Machine is one of my favorite songs that they did. It kind of reminds me of Alice in Chains. That's where a bit of that flavor comes in. Time Machine is one of the songs that they initially had been swapping in and out with Empire, and they decided to stick with Time Machine. And I'm so glad I got to see Time Machine. Awesome song. Then they go into Damaged, and Damaged is a more of a softer rock kind of song from the first album. It reminds me of some AM radio hit from the late 70s, and it's really, really a cool song. After that, they pull out The Lamb, and The Lamb is from the second album, and they didn't play it on any of the previous tours. So this is the first time that they're doing The Lamb on this tour. And this is an example of a song that I had heard initially and it didn't quite grab me, but then I listened to it again recently when I heard that they were going to be playing it, and I really got to like it much, much more. It's a song that's really grown on me. The Lamb is awesome. You should check it out. Also, The Other Side comes next, and this is another song. This is from the first album. This is another song that the band absolutely jams on, especially Richie Kotzen. He does a guitar solo that he's just so into. He looks like a demon possessed delivering this solo. I mean, he is just amazing. He's such a good guitar player. And then we move into the bass solo by Billy Sheehan. And normally, I'm not a big fan of bass solos. I mean, how many times can you think of a bass solo that really blew you away? You know, when I think of bass solo, I think of Michael Anthony from Van Halen. Now, I love Michael Anthony. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be seeing him soon with Sammy Hagar. I'll have that concert review coming up soon. Not a fan of the Michael Anthony bass solos from back in the day with Van Halen. What did you think? Drop it below. But Billy Sheehan is a whole nother beast. This guy plays the entire bass. He uses both fingers to run up and down the neck. He'll have, you know, his left hand on the neck and his right will be fingering below it, and he does all this crazy stuff on the bass. And this is part of what makes me believe that this band is capable of doing anything. You've got such talent in every corner, you know what I mean? And I just love bands like that are just capable of doing anything. And so after that, we get into a song called Ghost Town. Great, great, feverish kind of a track from the second album. Love that one. And then we get into more of a Richie Kotzen kind of a solo section of the show. He kind of slows things down. It's just him on stage. He pulls out this song called The Road, which is one of his own solo ballads. And he does a really nice job with it. He kind of goes then into a song called Regret, which is a great, great song from the Winery Dogs on their first album. It's actually the song that closes out the first album. And it's very different from the rest of the songs on the album. It's a ballad. It's very soulful, even a gospel flavor to it. And it's just a tremendous song. You know, it starts off with Richie at the keyboards, and then he joins the band and they give it a nice big finish. And it's just one of their best songs. Check out Regret. And then they go into Devil You Know, which is from the second album. And then they go into I'm No Angel, which again is another great, great song from the first album. I'm No Angel is one of my favorites. It's got such a great guitar lick on it, great melodies, everything about it. It's like a perfect song. You've got to check it out. And then they pull out The Dying from the first album. And it's just one of these songs that it kind of throws you off guard. It's a bit of a sleeper. It starts off like a ballad, but it's got this real intensity, and it came off really, really well live. There's this epic jam that they do in the song. Everybody's just jamming, and it was just amazing. Then they close out the set with Oblivion, which is the first song from the second album. And this song is just blistering. It's probably their most intense tune. And it's just a great, great rocker. And so then for the encore, they come out with a cover of Elvin Bishop's Fooled Around and Fell in Love, which was this classic rock tune from the 70s. And this is right in Richie Kotzen's wheelhouse. They sound really good doing this tune. This is one that they swapped with Love Is Alive, another great classic rock tune. That was from Gary Wright. Remember him? He had Dreamweaver and Really Want to Know You. Awesome songs. I wish I could have seen them do Love Is Alive. I would have preferred that one. That's a song that they actually recorded, and I'll have a link to it below in the playlist so you can check it out. They did a good job with that. After that, they come out with Desire, and that's how they close the show. Desire is from the first album. Great tune there. And they do a final band jam before calling it a night. And overall, This was a tremendous show. I got to see great guitar work, great bass playing, tremendous drumming, great singing, songs filled with harmonies and melodies, and great lyrics and great guitar solos. And it's everything that I could ask for in a rock band at this point, which is why the Winery Dogs, as I've said before, are my favorite current band. They are a band that I follow, that I'll go check out. I guess with Rush out of the picture now, how many other bands am I really keeping tabs on and, you know, interested in going to see and can't wait for their next album to come out? The Winery Dogs, for me, fit that bill. Let me know what you think. What do you think about the Winery Dogs? Have you seen them? What do you think about their albums? You know, did you get to see him on this tour? Let me know. And then, of course, there's drummer Mike Portnoy and all the speculation around him. You know, will he ever get to work with Geddy and Alex of Rush now that Neil is retired? What do you think? I think of all the possibles, I think that Mike Portnoy tops the list, and it would be great to see him work with Geddy and Alex. I don't think that anything will ever be called Rush again. They're just not like that. If there's no Neil, there's no Rush, end of story. But why not have Geddy and Alex work with someone else and do something different? And that's very, very possible. So we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think. Who do you think should play with Geddy and Alex? Should it be Mike? Drop it down below. And if you like this video, give it one of these, all right? Hit that subscribe button too. Be sure to check out the companion playlist. Let me know what you think about the Winery Dogs, and I'll be back soon with another video, all right? So stay tuned and take care.
Thank you so much. Peace and love, everyone.